Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the Hobby Hour with myself, Stuart, and my good friend Dan.
Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Counter-Attack Bases. They stock a wide range of counters, gaming aids and movement trays for multiple game systems and offer custom items to suit your club, your event or even your podcast or YouTube channel. Check out the link in the video description.
So, how are you, Dan? How's things?
Yeah, good, thank you. It's we're doing the usual thing where we're pretending we've not just preambled for an hour and chat about everything under the sun. Good. It is a Monday evening as we record, and it's the first working day of the month, so it's been a bit of carnage one. So if I'm stifling yawns later, people have to obviously understand that you're not boring me, but it's been a long day already.
I do, but I might not be now.
But otherwise, yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Normal Monday at work for me. Painting dwarves today, not for me, for someone else. But yeah, normal stuff. Planning things, lots of chatting with people, planning armies for future events and stuff. Things I can't say at the moment as well, unfortunately, even though I'm excited about them. But yeah, good. So what we got planned today, we're going to have a little bit of a chat about the armies on parade of kind of spurred a discussion. A lot of discussion is all over the internet. We're not going to do a kind of a breakdown just of armies on parade because we thought we would, and then they kind of changed it, which is a good thing, but we'll come on to that later. But we're going to talk about that a little bit because it's affected something I'm working on a little bit, but then also just in general, how Games Workshop has treated IP in the last maybe even decade. We'll have some examples going back for how it's impacted on our hobby, because I don't know if it's always what there's decisions made that maybe the community feels that's not what they would have wanted, but from a business point of view, you can understand why Games Workshop have made decisions. So it's an interesting discussion around it. Probably be really rambling, just like this little discussion around it, or a little introduction to it. But first, we're going to do our normal stuff and talk about what we've been up to and about the news and things, really. So we've got a little list of things to remind us. But the first thing I've got written down news-wise, Dan, is the Eldar look quite nice, don't they? What were your thoughts on the new Eldar?
We have returned to the heady days of my youth when the Eldar army was the nicest looking army. Second edition, all of the metal aspect warriors were out, and we had the metal avatar, and just before we got the plastic Falcon, although I do remember when that came out, the battle report between them and the Chaos Warriors, because it was the Lord of Change came out pretty much the same time.
Yes.
So there was a battle report for that, showing my age a little bit there. They've always been the Painter's army, and they've, possible segue into later, but they were obviously the High Elves of 40k, and they always were the best. High Elves were always they always had a really good range, especially if you look back at the old Metal Swordmasters and stuff. There is so much of a design synergy between that and their 40k equivalent. And I think they've tapped into that. It seems to be something GW has done incredibly well over the last, should we say, 3 or 4 years, is almost like turbocharging nostalgia, but bringing in all the modern design cues, all the modern design affectations, modern GW aesthetic, but channeling that nostalgic old school edge. Even, the much whinged about and maligned, even though still quite beautiful, Warp Spiders, and the Exarch was still one of the finest models that GW's ever done for 40k, in my opinion. And they've topped them. The new ones are fantastic, and the new Phoenix Lord is, the base is a bit silly with his little web thing, which is a bit much. It's a bit Amazing Spider-Man cover, but other than that, the model's just bonkers good. And Fugin's beautiful. I've seen a few people who don't like Fugan very much. I don't understand why. It's beautiful. It's quite static, but that works. It's what he's for. He's supposed to be like, come on then. And I love that about him. the entire Eldar line's an absolute cracker, but if it didn't make me feel so icky playing 40k, then I'd probably paint an army. Well, I say paint an army. By 2028, I'll paint an army.
They are beautiful. I've been thinking about them quite a lot recently, but I've recorded. I was just checking while you were talking because I was pretty sure the video had gone out, but I didn't want to mention this if it hadn't gone out. So, Jordan and I from Jordan's Sorcery Channel do our book club, and we do our non-fiction book club, which we've launched this year as well now. And the first one went out was looking at the second edition Eldar Codex, basically. And it was great fun because we knew, obviously, we're doing it because we're trying to coincide it with releases because it's the way you do YouTube. So I was already thinking about them anyway, and they were teased way back last year, weren't they? And if I didn't have, they got leaked, and then they were shown. Yes, I see it. And weren't they announced at whatever big show was in the end of November or something like that? I think.
They showed him off the back of that. I think because they had to.
Right,
maybe I can't remember. There was definitely. There's been other things going on with it, but he was definitely leaked. Fugan was, and they responded to that, and then I think the rest of it came out pretty quickly afterwards. All of it's beautiful. The only one I don't particularly like is Azaman. I have to say, he's a bit janky. His face is a bit odd. I know it's supposed to be, but it's still a bit odd. It reminds me of Space Crusade a little bit, and not in a good way.
I didn't get that, but I think the aspect warriors look great. I quite like the simplicity of some of them. Yeah. I'm always a Dire Avengers fan. All these really kind of I quite like the quite vanilla ones. But when I first had Eldar was actually Rogue Trader, so I had them in Rogue Trader, and I had the metal dreadnoughts as they were then, or the walkers, and my D cannons when they were there. That was my. I said this in the recording I did with Jordan. That was probably the first time as a teenager that I realised something was broken. Was using D cannons, even back then.
Well, it was Star Cannons in 3rd edition. Star Cannons spam loads of War Walkers. Really,
I didn't play with them then. So I would have played 2nd edition with the army, but it would have been prior to this Codex release as well. So it would have been the Get You By Codex that came with the box. So I had Eldar back then and loved them, and it was very much a Guardian-based army with a couple of lots of aspect warriors and a few dreadnoughts. And it took me back to that. And I love the first White Dwarfs I ever bought, and people have heard me talk about this loads of times, sort of 138, around that area. And then I got given loads of back issues as well. So anything from 130 up to 170 odd, you saw their own Latok studio army a lot as well. So it just took me back to that. And I've had this penciled in my notes on my phone for ages, is a video which would be new models, a Latok paint scheme. I won't do Goblin Green basis, I'm afraid, but that kind of doing it as a fun project. And it might still happen. I've just got too much on. If I just made videos for a living, I didn't do commission work for a living, I would have probably pre-ordered some of that stuff for content, but just haven't got the time to do it. So, but they love them. It's penciled as a maybe at some point this year if I could get around to it and get time. So watch this space. But they are definitely calling out to me. Just a small force, infantry-based force. I don't want all the other stuff. Very much focusing on that old style of the Rogue Trader army I used to have.
Yeah. If I were to do it, it'd be obviously Votann and do just all the aspect warriors and do Court of the Young King. I don't even know if that's still a thing. With the new avatar, do the whole thing. But I'd want all the back banners.
Yeah,
Second edition. All of them have like almost Japanese feudal.
Yeah, that was the vision I had. It would be I'd buy Guardians, but then I'd buy Dire Avengers, and then it would see. I wouldn't buy all of the aspect warriors, but I'd buy a few. Just be enough to scratch the itch. I think it'd be a fun little project. And my 40k is with my son at 1,000 point level, so it would be a 1,000 point type force to play at home. And it's fine then because I'm just painting nice things to spend time with my son, basically. Which brings us on to the next thing, which was Astra Militarum. It's just obviously the Krieg box, which looks amazing. And if I hadn't been painting standard Cadians, I would have been tempted by that. I was good. Didn't FOMO, didn't buy it. But they've just announced this last Sunday, wasn't it, that the standard Codex is up for pre-order this coming Saturday.
Standard edition Codex art for the cover is beautiful for that.
It is.
It
It's
gives me
nice.
I mean, I doubt it's Carl Kapinski, but it gives me the vibes.
Hmm.
Classic Guard.
Yeah, yeah,
Carl
yeah,
Kapinski Guard artwork was. I mean, I think the first one he ever did was the Katachan one
yeah.
from Third Ed,
Hmm.
and that was fantastic. But it was always his Cities of Death cover
Yeah. I
that
think you
was
might be
just
right. Actually, there was someone on it was X or BlueSky the other day. One of their artists that had shown some artwork they did to get the job as an artist doing 40k, and something they recently did. And we've talked about it in the past about there was time around 8th, 9th edition when everything seemed a little bit too clean. And it's just
yeah,
starting to feel a little bit more dirty and grim again. It's starting to get
yeah,
about
back
that
to the
feel back
Alex
in.
Boyds, Paul Dainton,
And it's not
Carl
a
Kapinski.
change, it's the newer style evolving, because it's almost like adding a filter over that new style. So
Yeah,
I think you just go through eras of different artists and stuff, but I just
I
it
think
stood out to me, and I think that new front cover is an example of that.
it channels a lot of the Vrax books.
Hmm.
The artwork, I mean, it's very on the nose, obviously, because it is Krieg, but
Hmm.
the Vrax artwork, it seems to be heavily influenced by that, as it
Yeah,
should be, because
yeah, 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 yeah.
that's cool as hell. But obviously, I watched Henry's video where he painted up the Krieg using Ben's recipe from
Hmm.
the commission studio, and that was really interesting to watch because seeing the models and stuff, and obviously, I haven't really seen much of the new plastics in
Yeah,
person. Even the kill team, my memories of it's always been the very, very small Forge World
yeah,
stuff,
yeah, yeah,
which is stunning, but small. And they are
yeah.
considerably bigger, but they've maintained that level of detail. It's more, I think
Hmm.
it's more accessible because the putties and the bandages and stuff on the Forge World ones, they were small,
Yeah, yeah. I've
really
painted a
small.
few as commissions. I haven't, but
Yeah,
like you, I've not actually held. I don't think any of the new one. They're nice. They are tempting. And maybe one day. I think right now because I've already got 1,000 points of guard that's nearly all painted. I would try and avoid that and buy some Eldar instead if I wanted a new
I'd
project.
imagine
And I've
you'll end
also
up
got my
painting some,
squad.
mate.
Uh, well, yeah. Luckily, they didn't send me any because I wouldn't have had time to do it. But at some point, but I've got for my birthday a few weeks ago. I got this is sort of dipping into what we've been doing, I suppose, but is relevant for our little mini 40k chat at the moment. I got the Votann Combat Patrol
Hmm.
for my birthday. I know my plan is to use that with the Necromunda squat stuff to make them more squat-like. So swap all their heads out,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. Again, that's a future project and will be a video at some point, but will be a single video based on the number of views that my squat Necromunda painting tutorials got. People don't want to
That
watch it.
was such a shame because they were really good videos and they came out real nice.
Thank you. I had fun doing them. But just my my
It's,
my my subscriber base, and they know because they're watching this now, wondering when we're going to stop talking about 40k. Don't get on with 40k, and it's a lot of your views are linked to your existing subscribers clicking on a video, and if it's
I
not
don't
what they
see many
normally watch, they
Necromunda
miss it.
videos in general.
There isn't. There isn't.
No, which is weird considering, I mean, yeah, fair enough, how much of that's fueled by Tony Cottrell.
Well, I was
But
just
clearly
about to say the same
Necromunda's very
thing.
popular. It clearly gets a lot of models and a lot of attention. And I know everyone who has a very special place in their heart for it, but you don't see anything of it. I mean, I know it's not particularly a game I would say that lends itself particularly to battle reports on, but painting wise, I just don't
Why
get
not?
why it
It's all
isn't
about how
top
you
of.
film them. I don't watch a lot about reports, but a lot of it is just how you film it. And
I think
if
it's the
anything,
production
watching
value
Peachy
needs to be
do
higher.
quite, yeah, it would do. Peachy doing his very narrative battle reports on his channel for all kinds of different games. Um, it works, and I think doing something like that for Necromunda would be really good and maybe more watchable sometimes than some of the bigger games you see. But
Maybe
I
tabletop tactics as well. I did actually watch one of their videos this evening. Actually, it was
I love their videos. I love what they do.
Envoy versus Night Gobbos. They're
I haven't
very
watched it yet, so don't
enthusiastic.
tell me what happens yet.
It's
I
good
haven't watched it.
fun. It's really, really good fun. They're incredibly enthusiastic, which I'm not used to. I am very much a grumpy old man, and I don't like when people enjoy themselves too much on my television. It's not on people doing silly voices and stuff.
Oh,
But
I like.
I've never been able to get on with D&D. But you know what? I really enjoyed it. They clearly know what they're doing. They're good hosts. The production quality is high. The models are nice.
Yeah,
So that's the kind of thing, you know. I
yeah,
was
yeah,
actually
yeah.
surprised myself. I know a few people who've gone down because they've got their new venue.
Hmm.
So I know a few people who've gone down, and apparently that's,
Used it.
you know,
Yeah,
top
it's not
draw.
too far from me. I just it's so 40K focused. I wouldn't. It's
It's
not the kind
near.
of thing.
Uh, it is Gloucestershire, isn't it?
It might be
Or is it?
Wiltshire actually,
Oh,
which is
Wiltshire.
just
Yeah,
south,
because
just the next county down.
yeah,
I think it's in Wiltshire. But anyway, 40K stuff on my channel doesn't get viewed because
yeah,
my people don't want to watch that. They want to see old world and they want to see historicals. So we'll move on away from 40K anyway for now. Gloomspite Gits, a small one for you than me, though there is some old world relevance for people who want to use them as conversions and things. But you talk about those because I know you're a big fan of these.
yeah. The models are freaking awesome. I didn't indulge. I'm being really good at the moment. I'm not buying anything at the moment because I had a new car, but I might have been tempted because they are really pretty. I've been indulging my Gits passion at the moment. I've been I read Skarsnik in the last couple of weeks, and that was good fun. It's probably one of my favorite Black Library books I've ever read. Actually, genuinely, I'd recommend it to anyone. It's brilliant.
Who's it written by? Sorry, I can't.
Was it Mike Brooks? I can't remember who actually wrote it. That's awful of me, but it's really good, wasn't it? This just makes for really, really bad viewing. People
But
looking at
you're right.
phones and
Unwittingly, I thought you'd have known, and I've put you right on the spot.
no, it's Guy Haley.
Guy
Apologies.
Haley. Okay,
It's probably because Mike
makes
Brooks
sense
doesn't have
because
one.
he did the fantasy ones for them, didn't he?
Yeah, and
In the end
it's
times one, he
genuinely
did the end
brilliant.
times. He did the end time one for the.
I
I
can't
think he
remember.
did. I think he did
I
do
read
the
it as
end
part of the
time
compendium,
goblins.
and I didn't really.
Think about it. Yeah, I think he did. Pretty sure he did the end times, the big end times novel that
Yeah,
was with the dwarves.
which incidentally, Skarsnik just disappeared.
Mm, mm.
He didn't even get yeah, they did him wrong
They did a
on that
few
one.
bits wrong there. Let's move on.
Yeah,
That's a
I
different
think someone
topic.
was walking around the office with a sharp stick saying, "Come on, just get it done. Come on, we need to do this. We need to sell it. Age Sigmar's coming. Just get it done. Come on."
Yeah, yeah, I think
Um,
so.
but no, Skarsnik was brilliant, and yeah, the new Gits models are really cool. Um, I think there might be an Orc and Goblin army in there for me somewhere. Night
Hmm.
Goblin based, I think. Definitely the Doom Diver. As soon as I found out that the Doom Diver model that's selling for old was metal,
Yeah.
that set me off. I was like,
Oh yeah,
right,
of course.
I'll buy the plastic new one then and cut it down. Because I don't actually mind the old model. I think it's quite cute, but I'm not buying the metal model. It's not happening. So I'm trying to really desperately trying to find a fine cast Skarsnik model at the moment. Just can't be bought, not for any money. If you can get one, it's
There
metal
we go,
or it's
people.
been
Anyone
broken
got a
or
fine
badly
cast
painted.
Skarsnik model?
I would pay
Not a
reasonable cash
recast
for it.
before anyone offers. Not
Do you
for
know
us.
what? No, no, we don't do recasts. Although it depends how desperate I get. No, didn't say that. But no, I'm one of the few people in the world who wants a fine cast one.
Mm.
Um, but anyway, I have to get my car. But I did have a look. I also want a fine cast Krell as well, just to paint. But
Yeah, cool
yeah, I'm not
model.
paying £85 for him.
No, 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 I
The
wouldn't.
worst thing
I
is, I
definitely
actually
wouldn't.
bought him. I've got half a Krell. I don't have an axe because I used it for a Night Lord conversion many years ago.
Oh, oh, okay.
I just took the
Nah.
axe head off. I literally bought the entire model for an axe head, and now I just have what
Now
remains.
you want Krell.
And he's not Crow without his axe. Anywho,
No,
moving
no,
on.
no, he's not.
The new Gits models are really cool. Really, really
Yeah,
cool.
I thought it looked pretty cool. I think a lot of
Yeah,
character
proper
in
good
there.
wolves.
Hmm.
Really good wolves. Or wolves, according to Skarsnik. I love that they call them wolves.
I'm surprised that's not the new GWIP name for them.
I am surprised too. But no, really, really good fun. But yeah, I don't think I'll be getting any time soon. But
You
we'll
never
see in
know.
the future.
You never
And I
know.
want to go far more Night Goblin. The new Underworlds warband though, proper
Uh-huh.
cool. Really nice
I
models.
think I missed that. I don't. I tend to
Stunning.
scroll past Underworlds a lot.
They're good for just models. I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
know,
the,
I know.
I used to do the same, and now I want some of them, and I can't get hold of them. Like I really want the, as it Gnarlwood.
Yeah,
Basically, they're the Marauder ones from that. They're super cool, but you can't get hold of them
no, no, no.
unless you
And
want to pay
this is
over
when I
120
discover the
quid.
models I want as well, like you did with the
Yeah,
Skaven for more time is when you think, oh yeah, what about these ones? But yeah, nice looking models. Nice looking models.
it's not as if GW's doing bad models, is it? I mean, the Emperor's Children are beautiful as well, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, I haven't put that on the list, and we definitely haven't talked about that. They are very nice as well. There's lots of. I'm quite a fan of the plastic Fulgrim. I
I
know.
love him. I know it's divisive, but
Yeah,
Forger Fulgrim as a painter's model is put in a cabinet, fantastic. To
yeah.
actually game with, plastic one all the way.
Having
Sorry.
painted one and sent it to America, and
Oh,
as far as
mate,
I know, as far as I know, it got there okay. I didn't get any complaints, but
I'd be sweating
um,
the entire time.
yeah, but yeah, it's so delicate. But I really like the new one, the plastic one.
Yeah, I think it's really
Really
cool. I
do.
mean,
I
not all
think
the heads are my cup of tea, but
no,
at
but you've
least
got a choice, haven't you?
two slash three of them. There's five, yeah.
Yeah, you only need
And
one. So, you only need to like one of them, and
yeah,
it's fine. It's done.
the new, I don't know what their 40k version is, but they're basically Palatine blades.
Hmm.
Swordmaster guys, they're freaking awesome. I really like the new Noise Marines. I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, I haven't got guitars." Good.
Yeah,
That
that was.
one
I
model's
love
cool,
Noise Marines with guitars,
but
but it's not 1985 anymore.
no, no,
So it's okay to love that
I
back
like steel
then.
pan for like the next person, but
Yeah,
no, it's paint one. But I don't have to do that for all of them. Yeah, the entire line, really nice models. Again, tempting, but I've just got no interest in playing 40. You've got a purpose. You play
yeah,
games
it
with your
gives me
son
an
and that,
excuse, and I wouldn't be either. I'd be buying individual miniatures probably.
but the game just doesn't
But
hold any appeal for me.
I'm
Not
not
much does at the
excited.
moment, if I'm
I'm not
honest. But
excited about playing the game ever. It's not a bad game either, but it's fun just to play with Jacob. But
yeah,
even just for me and you to get, if we lived in the same town, we might do it for something to play on off days when we're not playing Middle Earth or Old World. But we get together so few times
yeah.
a year. We're not going to waste our time playing 40k. We're going to play Old
And
World
if I
or
were going
Middle
to,
Earth.
it'd be Kill Team anyway, I think.
Potentially, yeah. What put me off
Or
Kill Team
Necro.
is just learning another set of rules, and that's why I didn't
Yeah,
bother. It's just another with completely different mechanics. I wish it was again. I
yeah.
wish it was a
What's a
derivative of the
triangle?
Boy Game rules. They got rid of that stuff now, haven't they? But the new edition. But again, and I know it's a good game. I've heard people say it's brilliant, but it's just my brain suddenly got so much capacity for learning different sets of rules, and I just would have much preferred something that riffed off the 40k main rules and basically make it 40k skirmish.
Well, like was it Thingy Armageddon, Shadow Wars Armageddon? That was
Yeah,
kind of
well,
a mix of 40k and
like
Commander,
like
wasn't it?
Mordheim was to sixth edition fantasy.
Yeah.
That's good. That's how you should do your skirmish games. But anyway, that's a different thing. Let's move on anyway. So Empire, second wave and third wave, I suppose, made to order. So that's pretty much everything's released for Empire now. Fairly quick as well. All came out
Yep.
really quick. War Wagon, ordered it at 10 o'clock. I went in my car at 10 o'clock on Saturday. 2 minutes past, I exited with having paid, which you can't shoplift from a web store apparently. And I got my dispatch notice today, which is amazing. I didn't think that was going to happen so quickly. So yeah, that's going to be winging its way to me. It might even turn up tomorrow, I suppose. I've got a dispatch notice today, probably the day after. Probably Wednesday-ish.
Still not bad though.
Because it's for they don't pay for 24-hour shipping, do they? Games Workshop they pay for 48-hour, which is fine. I'll be honest with you, it's fine, but
At least
not
it's not
when
every.
but not on pre-ordered stuff when they ship it at 4 a.m. on the day of release and it's on a 48-hour. You pay if it's fine when it's free shipping, but I think when you pre-order stuff, they should either. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, exciting stuff. Happy War Wagons on the way. Hopefully, many other people get their War Wagons early. I've got patrons, Dan, who are still waiting on made to order stuff past the 188 days. Quite a few examples of
like Tomb Kings and stuff.
Yeah, people waiting a long time. Some of them Australia, but because they ship that direct, it shouldn't have any. Their country shouldn't have any effect on that. So there's at least 2 of my patrons. We'll be watching this, one of them at least, I'm sure. And I'm sure there's someone brought it up on one of the groups. So there's definitely issues somewhere along the lines.
It'd be nice and triggering for them, wouldn't it? They've taken half an hour of their day to not think about the fact they've been deprived of their MTO, and
I've just reminded them. I'll be very honest about it. I know GW aren't deliberately trying to do that, but and I get advanced stuff from GW, but I don't mind saying it. That's not good enough. It's not good enough, isn't it? When something's got such a long, you're giving yourself way too much time, in my opinion. But when you've given yourself a huge amount of time, for me, that felt like, they've given you 188 days to make sure that there's no way on this planet that they can miss that goal and still miss it. And I think the email, I've seen the email that one of them got. It's not great. It's not that apologetic. Sorry, he's got very briefly. I'm sad to inform you, or sorry to inform you that your mail order is going to be late. Won't hit the 188 days. Expect it some point mid-March or something like that. So it's not even like and here's a voucher or something. It's just bad.
I think
it's a shame because they used to be better than that at those things.
They've lost their tone of voice, and that's such a huge thing these days. I remember, at the risk of boring corporate stuff, tone of voice is hugely important, and Lego. They pitch everything as if they're talking to an 8-year-old child and stuff like that, so they maintain a certain tone of voice.
Yeah.
GW seems to have lost its way a little bit with that, which is a shame, because when you don't get consistency, you lead to dissatisfaction in your customer base.
Because the service used to be brilliant, and they probably just gave away too much to people. Just as the parts missing, whole new kit and stuff. And I know they still replace stuff very well, but there's also an awful lot of stories of people who are just not getting replies and giving up now. And it's because there's probably too much for too few people to do. That's always the way with these things. But it does feel a shame when something is clearly that late. I just don't think you should be missing 188-day deadlines you set for yourself.
They've got to be running really close to sales description acts and all sorts of. They've got to be cutting close to normal commerce.
Probably are, but what happens there? Because I imagine, and this is the sad thing, I imagine it's such a small percentage of people, such a tiny percentage, of course, of the money they make, that they kind of expect people to just turn around and say, just give me a refund. Okay. And that's maybe what they would do, which is a shame. That's not kind of going, it's not the old way you'd expect of going above and beyond and apologising. But it's not my complaint, because I've only ever done a few made to orders, and my experience every time is that they've arrived really quickly. I've been really lucky. This has been shipped straight away. I can't imagine there's any reason other than luck. The stuff I get sent for review is by different people who send things to pick in. There's no way there's a flag on my. It's not the same customer number or anything. It's not like it's because I've got a YouTube channel and I get stuff early. It's that those things, as far as I'm aware, aren't linked at all. I'm just being lucky with it, but I probably got lucky. And however X amount of war wagons that they have made already, which seems to be what they do with a lot of made to orders. Has been I was lucky enough to bag one of the first batch, and then after that we'll see how many they made. But I reckon it's going to be so popular. I worry for people who are going to be waiting a long time. But anyway, fingers crossed for everyone.
How many? 6? It's a number I've floated around. You can take up to 6 in an army. So
I think people taking 6 will probably be 3D printed. They're the kind of people. This is going to sound bad, but I'm just going to say it anyway. The kind of people who are going to take 6 of them in an army are probably the kind of people that are running 3D printed armies anyway. And there's nothing wrong with either of those things, by the way.
£500? So £80 each, aren't they?
Yeah, nothing wrong with either of those things. But the kind of people that are interested in trying those kind of lists are quite often from that same demographic who will be running stuff from Harley's Miniatures anyway, which is cool. You go for it. Harley's Miniatures version of the War Wagon is pretty cool. It's pretty nice. So after that, news today. No, no.
Yeah,
Cool.
I had a discussion over that actually, because that model isn't as old as you think it is. It's 2013. It's only 11 years old. Everyone's like,
And
oh, it was
tail end of
a lot
Warhammer
older.
Forge, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's apparently it was Trish's first Forge World model.
Was it? Oh yeah,
Mm.
she spent the last couple of years there, didn't she? Hmm. It's
Yeah, it was
I really
June
like it.
13. It was released,
I
and I always
really
thought it was
like it.
older. Oh yes, cracking model.
I will be purchasing that definitely because I am planning a
I'd,
little delve into high elves and a sea based high elves delve as well because I love those seagull miniatures and that will be perfect for it. So yeah, it'll give me. They're definitely going. They're already always going to be an elite army anyway. Because the last thing I want to have to do is paint loads and loads of high elves. But I love those seagull miniatures. I picked up a frame of 5 of them. I will buy a box of them when they come out. And I imagine I don't know how much the Merworm's going to be in terms of points for the army, but I imagine that with a couple of units of Sea Guard and some characters and bits and a Merworm, I'm not going to have too much else to purchase. So I'm going to paint stuff for the channel anyway. So I will be purchasing a Merworm as long as it's not £400 or something like that. God knows how much that'll be. It's a lot
I think it was only
chunky
about 40 or 50 quid when it was out before, so maybe 60.
It's maybe 80. Depends how much resin's in it. It might be quite chunky.
Yeah,
I'm going to go 75,
base size,
80.
You never know, though. Some things have come in a lot cheaper than we've expected them to be.
Yeah, but it's based on commerciality of things, isn't it? It's how much they're going to sell off something, as well as how much.
Yeah.
It's not just material costs. It's not just the weight. It's not just the weight of the resin. It's the total cost of it. So, which will be how many molds they're going to need, and how many they need to sell to recoup the molds, and if they're going to sell more, how many molds they're going to need in its lifetime. All of those get factored into it. I think.
Skin wolves, they're 75.
I can't remember.
Something like that.
Remember. No idea.
So
actually.
Yeah, I'd imagine it'd probably be about the same as them. So yeah, maybe you are right. 70 to £80.
I think so. I think it's quite a chunky thing, isn't it? I think it is anyway. Or is it a bomb size? Is it A bomb sized? I don't know what the base size is going to be. I'm trying to look at I can look at the picture right now. This isn't.
I think it's exactly chariot base size, isn't it? But chaos chariot, so I think it'd be like a 60 by 120.
It's quite a big butt. Yeah. Is that A bomb? I'm not going to get up the legacy army list now, but I wonder if that's A bomb sort of sized. So yeah, I 60 to 80. 60 to 80, we'll see. But anyway, that was cool today, and it makes you wonder whether we're going to start. Usually, when they release an article like that, that's the start. Usually it's the start of more articles, isn't it? It's unusual suddenly to be just one, so I wouldn't be surprised if we got a couple more articles in the next week or two.
Beastmen start rolling on.
Well, we had the announcement for IELTS, but no one knew whether that was going to be a bit like Dwarves, where they announce them and then it's going to be 3 months, or whether it's going to be sooner. And I think most of the internet talk at the moment.
I think they would dare do it again.
Oh, not intentionally, but I mean, someone asked in one of the groups the other day on the Facebook groups, and everyone's going, probably April. And I'm not so sure now. I think
it better not be another blooming dwarf thing.
I think it will be sooner. And then the last couple of things I've got to mention on there, Bosch and Germany books coming out. I've got a copy. I did a little review, but they've announced Bolt Action US as well, which is more up my alley than the Germans. So that will be. I'm quite looking forward to that one. And I don't know if you've seen them, Dan, but there's some new Airborne. I think it's a new plastic frame. So you're thinking Banner Brothers stuff.
Oh yeah, Battle of the Bulge and all that kind of stuff. If you're doing German, it's not as cool as the Axis stuff. That's the problem.
Well,
the Axis stuff's just cooler.
I differ. Are we the baddies? But anyway.
Well, let's not. Don might watch. He might get quite upset.
I'm joking. I'm joking. We're not. This isn't midwinter mini show, is it? Right. Anyway, so I thought the Bolt Action Germany book was really good, really nice. And I mean, that was the first of the new books for the new edition. So I'm really excited. I like that. You probably won't have watched the video because I know you don't play Bolt Action, but
I'd like to, but it's just another game.
Well, the way they've done the lists, they at the back they've broke it into a bit like Flames of War do, early, mid, and late war. So all of the entries for all of the different stats, basically every unit entry has an early, middle, late war in a list on a few pages. So the list, you can take anything you want, but having that separate list of stuff that's broken down into those periods means that you could say, let's play a game today, but we're only going to play early war, we're only going to play mid war, we're only going to play late war. And you could also do it from an event point of view. So we're going to do Bolt Action event, but early war only. So suddenly the stuff that you can choose,
so Panzer threes rather than fours, kind of stuff.
And they've not done that before, so it brings in list constraints, but actually makes it more historically accurate, doesn't it?
That's cool. It just makes it
such a simple, such a simple little thing. But for me, I thought it was my favourite part of the book. I just thought, wow, such a simple thing to do, but it makes the game. I mean, it's not new because Flames of War have done it for forever. But
that's layers in, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's just so easy. And I'm guessing that will be the same with all the other books now. So hopefully Osprey will give me a copy of the Bolt Action US book to do a quick review on that. Definitely I'll look at that. Anyway, that other new stuff, I haven't got anything else, to be honest with you, and there's probably stuff we've missed since then. But that's it for me for news. Dan, have you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really.
Cool.
Well, it's been so long since we recorded, and the pace of stuff nowadays is so quick.
Yeah,
we couldn't cover it all anyway. Even if we tried, we could do it. We could do 2 a week and probably still wouldn't get everything.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I focused
on
on this.
No one comes to us for anything useful.
No, it was more talking about stuff in the news that interested us rather than delivering the news, and that's why it's picked up on the models, the things that we've been working on,
to us for the old,
or may in the future come for the old news. So, what have you been up to then? Your chance to talk about what you've been doing.
Yeah, I have done a bit of hobby. Unfortunately, I hit that patch where I'm just doing the boring stuff. I'm still working on the base and up this bloody army. My Warriors of Chaos. Literally did some before we started this evening, put some more goo on bases. They're nearly done. So it's the last unit, my Marauder infantry. Just got to put some texture paste and to even out some areas tomorrow once my main group stuff's dried. And then, I can begin painting. We're finally. It's been a long slog, and the basing's damn near killed me because it's so dull. I hate it. I've always hated it. It's why I've always bought resin bases, and now I remember why. I painted Wolf from the new Middle-earth set.
It's awesome.
Enjoyed him. Really good fun. I had to muck around a little bit with his colours, though, because all black's just dull. There's only so much you can do with black, and it's a nightmare to photograph. The Wolf on foot is a complete pain to photograph, actually. Hence why there isn't one, but I have painted him as well. No matter what you do, trying to take a photo of that model, something's out of focus. Because the way he's cutting across himself. But nice models to paint. Really pretty. So apart from that, I've done some reading. Read both the Archaon books. Scarsneck on most of the way through Head Taker as well for Queeks. I'm reading the Warlords of the Eight Peaks anthology. So I've been doing some reading, which is good. There's been some hobby going on. Not a lot, but some. Yourself?
It's always difficult this because people know what I've been doing because a lot of it's on the channel. And there's stuff that's not on the channel I can't talk about yet, and people are starting to get the hang of that now. So I have been working on things I can't show people as yet. But I've been cracking away, chipping away at that Empire army. Working on my, you can probably reach it, working on my the Von Zeppel war wagon, which I sort of teased a little bit in a short for
Yeah.
my work in progress.
See, I could do that as well. Okay. Here's one I made earlier to give some people an idea what I'm actually talking about.
Oh yes, you're basing awesome stuff. So you have been busy.
Yeah, I mean,
Some
there's an entire army's worth there. Ranking up Chaos Knights, just in case anyone. It can be done.
Yeah, it was. I was a bit swearing when I did mine, but they do work, especially if you build a few of them up and things. Yeah, I wouldn't do that with mine. Mine aren't magnetised. I'd be all over the floor. Yeah, I've just been working on that war wagon thing, and that will be a video. Hopefully, I'm going to say it now, and this will mess it up. That should be Friday's video at the point of recording this. For those people who watch this on time, it should be Friday video. It won't be part of my army's display board, my army's on the parade board, because it's using Middle Earth bits, but we'll talk about that a little bit later for our main topic, I suppose. But yeah, I'm having fun with it, and now I know my main war wagon's on the way anyway. It'd only be the Von Zeppel would be if I wanted to run two. Most of the time it'll be a steam tank anyway, but it's a fun thing to do. And I think I will want to run two at some point, especially if I play a 3,000 point game. In fact, I think my Null Army will work better and be more fun at a 3,000 point large fun narrative game anyway. And I probably will run the two war wagons for it. I think that's just
Chaos the same. It can put an extra few little units in. It makes it a bit more rounded, a bit more interesting. It can put some cool characters in and stuff.
That'll be something for us to do later in the year at Warhammer World. Have a big take all day to do it as well. Just no rush.
I'm going to push out to 4K. I think in the end.
Yeah.
Because I want to do a giant.
Nice.
And I want to take the Chainmaker radar. And I planned out to 3,000 without her.
Yeah.
And then there's a few extra bits and pieces I want to do.
She's cool. She's cool. I've got her to be primed, ready to.
Yeah, she's
go.
Really pretty model. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff I want to add on. Do some marked units as well.
Cool stuff. I might add some other states, I think, next time I do. So I might just have some, maybe Stirland, because I quite like the idea. I'm watching Henry's video the other day, reminded me it'd be fun to do that kind of muddy stuff.
Great Swords, Ostland, the ones with all the black lacquered plate.
Maybe. Well, that would be cool. That would be cool.
I've always loved Ostland, are my favourite state by far. The coolest paint scheme, and they take the brunt of a lot of the chaos stuff, so they're a bit more embittered, a bit hardened.
That'd be cool. I've got some nights to do as well, and I've got time to do that in a month or so, maybe, to do a little night project as well. And I've got Geminson, which again, very kindly sent us along with all the other bits, but I can't. I'm glad I didn't do that because Henry's video is amazing on it. I should probably message Henry, make sure we don't end up doing the same thing ever, because his will get loads more views than mine. Yeah, I've got that miniature as well, so that will be part of it. So I've got some things. So yeah, there's a good chance that we could probably have a 4K game. Just literally get there at 10 o'clock. Play all day. No, you'll be all right. You'll be fine. I can lend you stuff.
Well, giant. I can paint a giant pretty quickly. I think is just all the infantry that killing me.
Exactly. Big points like that. But other than that, I've been reading another non-fiction book, which I've just finished today, ready to record with Jordan tomorrow, but I won't say what that is yet because he hasn't announced it. And I can say I've read Beast in Velvet as well for the
old school.
Yeah, that's the end of the GW Books Club series I've been doing with him for the Books Club. We're going to continue doing other stuff, but in terms of that initial imprint of 17 books, that original GW Books. And that is the final one, and very good it is too. We got so many plans, and there's too many books. There's more books than there are months, but we've done it 17 months now. It doesn't feel like it's been going that long. So we've got so many things we'd like to do. He's never read the Heresy books, and I really want him to read the
Oh
initial
God,
trilogy as
17's
well.
not going to be bad.
No, well, we wouldn't do
Jesus,
the whole
40
series for
odd.
Heresy, but I was saying to him the other day, well, maybe we'll just do it as we'll do one episode as do the whole initial trilogy because they go together quite nicely. And then I was like, but for me, it's really the first five is one group.
Yeah, Fulgrim's
Yeah,
essential.
because
Absolutely
Eisenstein
essential.
and Fulgrim, it's
Yeah,
so I need to try and twist his arm into making one video about the first five books. And saying that
because
out
that
loud
caps off
sounds like
Isfan 5.
it does, doesn't it? It really does. So I
That's the
think that
first stage of the war. That's it.
me too. I think that five. So we'll have to tell him, have to make him do it. But that's quite a discussion to do. But anyway, so yeah, finished. Been reading quite a lot, and I've just downloaded yesterday. Just bought Defenders of Althuan. Just never read any high elf books.
I wish you hadn't bought that. I could have
Oh,
sent you that.
okay. Well, it's fine. It's fine.
Because of that and Sons of Illyrian, they're fantastic. It's one of the best depictions of Malekith and Marathi, along with their mate, who I won't say anything about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I've got the Malekith, not Malekith, um, Malus Darkblade books keyed up to read.
Nice. Yeah, I've had that on my maybe list for a while.
Well, I've already read them once, and I've read the comics for the Warhammer Monthly stuff, but I'm going to reread them because they're good fun. I like Malus, and the fact
Well,
they
we'll-
actually wrote him in is great.
We'll see if I get through it or not. I've got some evenings in a hotel room in Disney, so I might actually get through that book because I just always read far too late.
Oh, you'll fire through. Yeah. Defenders of All Thrones, not a long book. It's about
I just
300
want to
pages, I
listen
think.
to it while I'm working. I want more Warhammer audios, but it's and I'm not complaining. But it's Gotrek and Felix, and other than that, you've got the God King. You've got the third part in the trilogy. That's the only other thing. None of the other Legends series ones that they've done.
Yeah, it wasn't a
They've
thing
not recorded it.
really.
I thought it was missing the first two. They've never recorded it though. They've just never done it. And it's just why would you pick the third book in the trilogy to record? Very,
I remember
very
the
weird.
first time they did it was it? It was one of the first Gotreks because they went back and did it. It was Thunder God one. What was it called? Something of the Thunder God. That was one of the first ones they ever did. I remember I had it on CD. You probably still have it somewhere because it was obviously Brian Blessed did it.
Yeah,
That was a big
yes.
thing at the
Oh,
time.
yes. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Slayer of the.
That was an audio drama rather than
Yes,
rather
but that
than
was
an
one of the
audio of a novel.
It was one of the first audiobooks that GW like really put some weight behind before it became a thing.
Yeah. I remember that era as well. There was quite a few around that era. They did a couple of heresy ones. They did a Space Wolf one as well.
It
that
was
done.
the Lightning Tower and the Dark Prince was the first heresy
That's right.
ones. And then I can't remember what 40k one was. I think it was one of the Khan ones actually, where he sounded like Antonio Banderas. Khan in boots. It's
I probably won't go and listen to that. I'm not such a big fan of the audio drama. I prefer the full novels.
yeah.
It's
One of
just
the only
because
audio dramas.
it's a way I
It's
can.
It's the audio drama that somewhat they did for Nightwatch, Pratchett. It has Paul Ritter. He voiced Carcer, and that was perfect.
Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. Normally I don't, but some of the BBC audio dramas they did for Discworld were fantastic.
Yeah, it's
They
different.
were worth a go.
I meant purely Warhammer audio dramas.
But purely for Warhammer, yeah, I agree with you.
Because they're written in
Normally.
a certain way, and that's not knocking it. I'm not the target audience for that.
No.
I'm someone who likes the books where there's not too many long fight scenes in. I actually like all the stuff around it. Audio dramas tend to be a little bit more like a audio comic for 40k.
Yeah, it's Did they have they done the audios for Eisenhorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have
They're
to
good.
pick those up actually.
They're good. Really good.
'Cause they would lend. I mean, I'm getting quite excited about the fact that because Dan Abnett said that there's another book coming. I think it's going to be the third Beckwin, which will make me very happy.
Would make sense, wouldn't it?
That
make
I'm
sense.
looking forward to because Penitent was fantastic. I mean, both pariah and penitent, but
Mhm.
I really want to know how it ends.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's me anyway, and we are rambling loads now. So let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about the stuff that happened with Armies on Parade and IP. Right, we're back after a short break. Again, we ended up going off on a tangent and continuing our conversation for the first part of the show. But I want to talk a little bit about GW and IP. And this is not going to be a really planned out discussion. This isn't a video. It wouldn't have been a video by itself. But the rules for Armies on Parade, I don't know why I don't know if they were published new. Jordan sent them to me actually and said, have you seen these? This is a bit wild that you can't have any mixed miniatures anymore. I think the original thing was you couldn't have anything from another setting.
Conversion parts.
Even for conversion parts. On your armies on parade, armies or boards or any of the different things, and there's lots of different things you can enter with it now. There's a young bloods. Your basic army doesn't need a board anymore. It's good. All those things are really good. They've expanded it to suit different people, but suddenly you couldn't use anything from other things. So it basically cut off most conversions. So you couldn't use a sword from Age of Sigmar and stick it on a Space Marine or anything like that. You couldn't do any of this stuff. And it just seemed odd, and the community went a little bit crazy that day. And there were people making videos about it. I'm sure there's been other videos on YouTube about it, and there were people complaining. And I want to be really clear, GW very, very quickly came back and listened and changed it. And I think not everything I'm going to say in this part's going to be amazing, in my opinion, on the things they do, I suppose. But I think if we're going to be fair, it's not very often that they listen and make a big thing out of saying it, because they posted it, didn't they, on lots of social media, even on YouTube, on their community tab, which hardly anyone knows that. They posted it there as well, basically saying, we heard lots of people talking about this. We have basically made a change. We've listened to your feedback. It didn't use quite those words, but essentially it's one of those. We listened to your feedback and we made some changes. I still don't think it's perfect though. So, but you can now cross the streams, so to speak, can't you? You can have parts from different settings.
As long as there's no hobbits.
Yeah, that's a separate. You have parts from different settings now, but not whole miniatures, which I still think there's a grey area now. I think it's very bad. I still think it's pretty badly worded in places. I think it's a massive improvement on what they had before.
Yeah, it's like how much constitutes a conversion?
Yes, and you can use a really simple example. I think they use the example of Cetra, don't they? But you can't have Cetra in a 40k army. And you think, well, that makes sense. But if you're thinking of Cetra on a square base, just put on an army display in a Necron army, then you think it'll look a bit weird. But if you converted the Cetra model, painted it in as metal, then I'd say, actually, well, why can't you? Surely that's just what Warhammer's always been about. It's about converting things from their own IP, and this is their own IPs, and why could they not cross them over? So even now there are elements, even with the adjusted rules, which will cover most people, to be fair, but even now the question is it still a little bit too harsh? And then the separate one is Middle-earth. I kind of understand this, as much as it's kicked me a little bit. But with Middle-earth, you can only use for Middle-earth, and that's parts as well, or whole miniatures. And it causes issues for me. So this thing, that's parts from Rohan houses. This is from the Goblin Scribe. This is the back of the Goblin King's throne, part of it, or back and bottom of it. Apart from the shields, the rest of it, and the spikes, which are from Empire kits, the rest is it's just a good source of wooden planks, to be fair. That's all it really is. But that's fine, but I couldn't put that on my armies on display board. And that makes you wonder about, will those rules in the future spread over to Throne of Skulls and things like that? Would you be not eligible to use them? They haven't said that, but
it is a legitimate worry because I managed to get hold of uh, the ruins of Middle Earth,
Hmm.
some bits and pieces from that. Matt Davies gave them to me ages ago. They're in a bag, and there's including some of the floor pieces. And I thought,
Yes.
oh, I could incorporate those into. I just thought,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
that's
Well, I've
you
got some
know,
in my
I
dwarf
remember.
terrain. Remember that dwarf terrain I
Yeah,
made?
yeah,
So again, that's just a piece of terrain. But if I was making a dwarf board now, I would have thought to use those bits, and now I
yeah.
couldn't for armies on parade. And I'll be clear though, I do get that because the the miniatures, yes, they've been designed by Games Workshop Miniatures team, but they haven't
Mm,
designed the concepts. Those concepts are designed by the concept artists from those films, from Weta. They designed
yeah.
those things and they basically redesigned their new copies of it. So I get it. It makes sense. I get it on that. I get it on one sense that whether you should still be allowed to enter, maybe, but the reality is,
I
you know that
th
you can't win because you can't have your miniatures
I
photographed because
think
they can't show it.
is that if you want it, or
Yeah,
if
that's the
your
problem, isn't
local
it?
store want it, if they were to, they would be promoting Games Workshop products, potentially using. So that might
Yes.
contravene the license. If thinking in that weird bendy way that lawyers, particularly IP lawyers, potentially think,
Yeah.
that's probably where it comes in.
They're probably trying to
I'd
make it
imagine.
simple as well because if you're taking, so
Well, it's a hard line, isn't it?
if you're
Just
doing an
but
armies on parade board, because one of the categories is board now, that's not online. You can only do online for just the army, which has to be on a plain background now. It's just the miniature. So if you're doing a
mm,
board, you actually have to take it to a store. You
yeah,
can't do that online. So if you're taking it to a store, I'm guessing the people judging you and people in charge are the manager of that store. However many stores they've got worldwide, if you start having grey areas, someone could make it through a couple of rounds, pick up a gold medal here
mm,
or there before they realise that some of the parts are an issue. And I go, well, we've told them they've won now, but we can't put their photo on our website, etc., etc. So I'm guessing that's why it is. So it seems a bit arbitrary and harsh. But
yeah,
if we forget the Lord of the Rings stuff, I accept that. It's a shame,
yeah.
but I accept that. Um, and more about that on my update from my board because there's loads of ramifications from my stuff I've been working on. But if we take it back to the mixing parts from settings, I'm glad they said you could use parts for conversions. But I am a little bit confused, if I'm honest with you, why you can't use whole miniatures. They just needed a line
Yeah.
that says as long as they are converted and or just used appropriately to match the setting,
Yeah,
rather
what
than
constitutes a conversion though? That's the
yeah.
problem. Like one of my favorite heresy armies was Dan Wheeler's Demons,
Hmm.
and a lot of it was only very lightly converted models from Slaves to Darkness, etc. Including
Yes.
like Archaon's Dragon, just removing the saddle on it and using it as the that greater demony profile used to be able to gate. Probably not okay. Maybe okay because it's got the heresy. You had the brutes and other
Yeah.
bits and pieces, the Forge World ones. Is that okay? How much time are you investing in that just to be turned away at the door? Do you need to be constantly sending photographs to GW, giving
Maybe
them
that's
probably
why
no,
they've done it. Maybe that's why they just thought
yeah,
we need a really simple rule that it's. I know it's saying what counts the conversion, but maybe that's why they've done the no
mm,
miniature thing. But I was looking, so I'm looking at high elves now because high elves are on their way. And I was looking at mages and thinking, well, if I want a single, there's a beautiful. I don't know what the miniature's called, but there's a lovely AOS female mage thing I'm not even gonna. I might put a picture up if I can be bothered when I edit this. And I was thinking about maybe I'll pick up that miniature, rebase it square, trim the odd little bit off here and there. Be a lovely different mage to go with my army. But again, future proofing in case I decide to grow the army and I want to turn it into a display or
mm.
something at one point. With that fall foul of it, I think by the
Well,
letter
I
of what
hope
they've
AOS
written,
models can be used because my entire Slaves to Darkness army is all my Warriors Chaos is
yeah.
all
So I
AOS.
can't
I
remember
don't have a single old one model.
even now I can't remember because it did say you could use. I think
I
it does
think the
say you
setting
can use
allows, yeah.
AOS for Warhammer. I think they're classing Age of Sigmar and Warhammer the Old World as a setting, and for me that makes sense in the same way
Yeah,
as you
like
can
40k
use.
Necromunda.
You can't mix 40k settings and fantasy settings, which
Well, Peachy must be
again,
sat in the shower crying because he's like, every model's a Necromunda model. We're clearly not anymore.
well, for playing the game, yes, but I just found it's improved. Don't get me wrong, it's improved, but I do find it a little bit odd, because I don't know. We're going to go back to that Cetril example just because it's really clear that if you make that so it looks like it fits within your Necron army, for me that's fine, and it's IP owned by Games Workshop with IP owned by Games Workshop. So it's an interesting distinction to make, and if they do that, is this going to happen to Golden Demon?
Well, that was so. Someone brought that up actually. I mean, taking away the AI problem, Neil's Exodite. It's not a cold one.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
was it a
I
cold
saw
one? Or
that.
was it that? Yeah.
Well, you can't have any Exodites because they don't make. Yeah.
Unless you scratch build it.
So that on an Armies on parade board wouldn't work, but he's a Golden Demon winning with it.
That was an example that was brought. I can't remember who. See, I saw a few bits about it. It might have been Kirioth. I don't normally watch his stuff, but I think that's what popped up to me or got shared.
So I mean, that's just regardless. It would be an example of something that's ridiculous because it is a GW model IP that matches real lore that's been around. Having recently done that Eldar book, we talked about Exodites. I mentioned it. That lore's been around since 2nd edition. So,
well, my copy of Promethean Suns over there, and that's got Exodite on the front of it, who looks an awful lot like the one in Neil's.
Yeah, and I think that shows if that's all right to win a Golden Demon, that should be all right to have on an Armies on parade board. And it worries me about what they're trying to do for the future. So let's blend that now into IP in general.
It does seem, though, that there doesn't seem to be a unified approach. The whole post seems to be like that. The work experience kid write it, and then someone's come along afterwards and gone, that's not what we meant. When we told you, don't cross the streams, we didn't mean that. Oh.
I won't say work experience. That gets used a lot, that kind of language around these people asked to write these things. So it's been given us
like there wasn't
that whole
briefing.
intern joke people make when there's a rule wrong or something like that.
Yeah.
But what it does make me wonder is what's the corporate IP policy that GW have and how that filters down in the individual departments. We know Alan Merritt left a few years ago now, who was very controlling of IP and ahead of IP, and he definitely had IP in mind, and he said this in interviews. Go and watch him on Jordan Sorcery. There was IP and making Warhammer profitable was one of the reasons why fantasy, one of the reasons he gave why fantasy was blown up and Age of Sigmar was brought in. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons. So that it's quite clear for at least a decade, maybe 15 years or more now, that they've been getting a little bit more modern and honing on their IP and realizing what they can protect and what they couldn't.
Guard.
Yeah, exactly. There's thousands of examples of name changes that are all around IP. So there's that. So there is a corporate vision and direction on IP. I wonder how directed they are to the individual departments that are looking after game systems, looking after things like Armies on Parade. I don't know which department looks after Armies on Parade. Is that under marketing or is it under something else? And
I'd say the community team.
Maybe it's a community as well. And so is that, where does that overlap with marketing as well? Because there's clearly marketing overlap with community. And then are these individual departments and those managers in those departments interpreting the corporate direction of IP and making these decisions based on what they think? Or have they been told on high, this is it now, you've got to stop this? And if they have, then I fear for Golden Demon 2026, because you might find more of this stuff creeping into, unless they roll back on this even more and realize, you know what, this is our IP versus our IP. Sounds rest in peace. Our IP versus our IP. So I'd love to know what people think about that in the comments, because I think that there's something going on here, and I get why they would want to protect their IP and do more with it, because it's how you make money. We've seen that with the Amazon thing coming along. It's so important that their IP is clear and defined and sellable and marketable.
With their shareholders' reports and stuff, the growth in that side of things is phenomenal, and it contributes massively to their cash position.
And maybe that's what they're worried about. Though my non-legal brain can't for the life of me could understand how someone winning an Armies on Parade, we'll use the Exodite example. No one's done this, but it was a really good one. A converted Exodite army couldn't win armies, maybe they all count as Eldar jet bikes or something like that. Whatever you do, that sounds like an amazing modelling project that would look amazing and also would work with the law. But now you couldn't do that.
They used to put it in the White Dwarf, and then the amount of times when I was even staff, they'd do stuff like that, or they'd put it on what was it? Doc Butcher's conversion clinic?
Yeah,
it used to be in White Dwarf.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, that was in the days of mail order, so you could order specific parts, but they used to do stuff like that. They'd show how people had converted stuff. Some of the heavy metal team would have made models, and they showed how they converted it. And people would come in and buy the kits.
Yeah.
That's cool. Here's how they did it. Go buy.
So, but maybe someone who knows a bit more legal stuff around IPs watching this, probably not, but maybe you can give me an idea of how that would be a potential future problem for them with their IP if they just played that as a winner. I get it if it was Middle Earth. We've talked about that already. I understand that if someone had done that, but it was mixing those IPs, that becomes a problem for them in terms of taking pictures and using that in their marketing and so on and so on. Get it. But in terms of separation of IP, I don't see how that would damage either the AOS or the 40k IP if it's done in a way that's good enough to win, because it looks like the thing that it's supposed to be, if that makes sense. And that concerns me. And it concerns me that we're going to see more of this kind of thing. We already know, well, we don't know. There's lots of rumours that have almost become reality now. Who knows whether it's just rumours that aren't true about Age of Sigmar and Old World and why certain factions aren't there. Everyone in the community talks about it like it's a truth. Now, none of us really know, because there's never been an official statement for it. But there's a massive assumption that there are some restrictions on the Old World team because of what they can bring back and what's legacy armies because of Age of Sigmar. And you can see some examples of how that could be the case.
How much of that, though, still people still being sore over them blowing up the Old World?
Exactly.
There might be some truth to it. There really might be. I mean, you never know. The Age of Sigmar studio team could be howling despots. They could go around with sharpened sticks and
I doubt
Danny.
it.
Who knows? I doubt it.
I doubt it. I think a lot of them probably like the old one. In fact, when I first got back into gaming, around 7th edition time, I used to listen to about a podcast called Bad Dice, and there were two Bens on it. Ben Curry, who doesn't work for Games Workshop, but Ben Johnson, who's very much works for the AOS team. So I don't think he hates square-based fantasy, I'm sure. And God knows whether he's interested or playing in it, and who knows. But I doubt it's... I doubt it's quite the way people tell the story, but there might well be some business reasons, whether they're good or not, who knows, but they might well be business reasons why they are trying to separate IP. There are examples, and I've talked about this before. We're selling 2 lots of Night Goblins at the moment in different boxes. There might be a really good business reason for that, but as a customer who can't always get what they want because stock isn't always available, and they're struggling, and it's well publicised that they're trying to expand warehouses to keep up, it does make me wonder sometimes why we're producing 2 versions of essentially the same miniature, and why you couldn't combine those to have less lines in the business. There might be a really good business reason for that I don't understand. So I'm not arrogant enough to go, no, this is wrong, because I don't know, but I find it interesting. And the decisions that I would guess that are made around trying to separate a AOS IP and a fantasy IP. But then, by the rules of Armies on Parade, they count as the same which I'm glad they do, because it would seem madness not to be able to use, like you said, the the Marauders from Age of Sigmar in your just hopefully we don't get to that point. I'm worried when you see things like that, as much as they roll back on it, but when you see things like that, it is concerning about what might come in the future if that's the direction of travel. It does seem to cut people's artistic tendencies down a lot when you can't mix those things, and it just seems such a shame when it's all their own IP why they would need to do that. But
it does line up with what they've done with the boxes, though. Especially with 40k, now you get what's in the box, and the unit is what you get in the box.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of that.
There's definitely less parts now left over.
Well,
in some ways, it's good
none.
because it's a lot of it was waste. I've built something recently. There are a few spare bits, something new that I can't share yet, but there are a few spare bits left over, but nothing that compared to what you used to would have gone in the old days. So yeah, there is, for saying that, it just varies a little bit. It's not consistent either. Those things I can talk about, those Necromunda squats, there's way too many heads. You know, you like you need like 2 heads, and you get 8 or something. I mean, it's amazing, but it's not consistent. It is all over the place, and maybe Necromunda's seen very much as the conversion. It's that whole ethos and culture of that game is like that. But it was just odd. I think it surprised people. Yeah, the Lord of the Rings bit, totally get. The rest of it surprised me, and it concerns me. And if we see that on, we set up for Golden Demon, I think that's going to really, that'll just turn some people off. People will stop entering, which will be a shame.
Yeah, it's not really the judged to be quite the premier it used to be. I mean, you got Monty and other stuff.
There are other alternatives now, aren't they? So in some
even
ways,
the
it's not the
wargaming
premier.
sphere, like
But
before,
at the same time, the standard is still getting to the point where it's
unattainable for most people. Let's be honest.
Well, I've got a pin. I wouldn't get a pin now. No chance. Long way.
I haven't got any. Actually, it's no point me saying I've got anything. It's like me saying I've not won the lottery because I've not bought a lottery ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
I've not entered since I was 13 or 14. So I'm half tempted. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm so far away from it now. It's a different conversation, but I'm so far away from it now anyway. And the pin, what I have that I got a pin for, would not get one now, not even close. And they've changed that a little bit as well. They're changing the commended cards now are lower than a pin, which I kind of makes more sense. Makes more sense, but when you've been running it a certain way for a number of years,
well, if you
just going to cause confusion.
Rich Gray didn't even get a pin to begin with, did he?
No, but he did in the end. I think he was just
because someone pointed out. Have you actually looked at that? It was one of the best painted things there.
It is. It shouldn't happen, but you can also see how things do happen. We all mistake things, I suppose. People make mistakes, and that was just one that happened with someone who's publicly very well known and respected and had an audience, and he handled it very well as well. He didn't do it in a petulant kind of way. He was just shared his disappointment, but luckily things were rectified a little bit with that. But I'm not surprised things get missed.
There's a lot.
I'm sure there are a lot. I'm sure the year that I got my pin, there would have been people that should have got pins. In fact, I know someone that should have got a pin. That very day was much better than what I did and didn't. It's okay now because they've got a Golden Demon now. But it's see if you can guess.
Liam.
Yeah. What he painted that day was better than what I did, and he didn't get a pin. And he was a bit disappointed on the day, and he should have been because what he did was great. And what he does now is so much better than what he was doing back then, and he's incredible, and he deserves it. So, Anyway, I feel we're turning away now, but I'm really interested in what people's thoughts are on it, and I think most people will be pretty anti Games Workshop. But I just think it's a shame. I'm not angry about it, and as I said, I actually agree with as much as it personally screws me over. I actually agree and understand with the Lord of the Rings stuff, because it's they pay the license for something there. But I'm glad they made the change that they did. I think that's good, and we should applaud them for it, to do it so publicly and so quickly. I still don't know why they're trying to control it at all. It's GW kits. The whole point is you shouldn't be winning unless you've matched the aesthetic of the setting anyway. It's being judged by people, and you should be able to trust your store managers and the people judging the event to pick the winners that have matched the lore and the aesthetics of the setting that they're in, and that should be the only rule. It shouldn't matter what parts or miniatures you're using, as long as the way you've painted and modelled them fitted within it. And it seems like they've just added a layer of complication and dissatisfaction now to a lot of people who just given Games Workshop are giving people another stick to beat them with, the people who like having sticks to beat Games Workshop with, and it just feels like it's not needed. But maybe there's a reason I don't understand. Maybe there is a real good reason for it.
Odd that a hobby that's always been based on creativity, and that to a degree has always been pitched as a hobby of creativity by Games Workshop, they would seek to limit creativity.
Yeah, I just don't know the reason. I can't. I can't think of a logical reason for it. Other than to control IP in a way that you don't need to. But maybe there's a complicated legal reason for it. But it just doesn't. I can't get my head around what the legal downside would be.
It'd be very easy for me to say, "Oh, it's all the gamer's fault," and this isn't that. The way that Games Workshop design and market a lot of their stuff now, leading towards gaming, tournament style play, having set scenery and all that kind of stuff. How much of it is to encourage a certain way of consumption? Does this back that up? Is this not necessarily a stifling creativity? In that respect, it is a stifling creativity in some respects, but not. I'm not saying that building armies specifically for tournament play is a stifling of creativity.
Yeah.
I think the fact that people in the same sentence talk about creativity and then say that's a bad choice, therefore I'm not going to take any of those units because it's not optimal for gaming.
Yeah.
That is stifling creativity in a way. It means you end up with a lot of the same looking armies stuff, but is it because there has been a change in direction in the way that GW goes about stuff, generals handbooks and all that kind of stuff, and I know that there's been talk of that in some of the Warhammer Old World groups on about, we getting generals handbooks for Old World. God, I hope not. How long does it take me to paint? How far have I got in this army? And then we'll change every 3 months.
I don't
get out.
One either, personally.
No. None of that. Thank you very much.
Don't get me wrong. I'd like a match play scenario type guide like they do for Middle Earth, and I'd like to see the things in the game that aren't as popular being promoted in that sense. So some objectives and some scenarios that mean that you could turn up to an event, and if you've not brought much infantry and only brought dragons, then you might find you're disadvantaged in certain scenarios. So it balances in that way. It worked for Middle Earth. I know it's a completely different game system. And I know there's a little bit. We're going off to another topic now, but I know there's a little bit of concern from Warhammer players who got so used to playing kind of battle line style or variations on battle line scenarios that they don't like objectives because they see that as not kill points essentially. But again, if you want infantry on the board, it's another way of achieving it. It should be worth trying it. There
is an argument: are you really the best warlord if all you're capable of doing is tabling people really quickly?
Yeah, I'd like to see a mix of those. Don't get me wrong; I wouldn't want all objective play, and I don't like anything too janky either. My favourite Middle Earth ones are the ones that are a little bit simpler, that you still have a normal game within it, but you could get points from other way. But don't get me wrong; I think I wouldn't want to see a general's handbook with major changes, but I also wouldn't mind if, as part of the errata, that if something was really, really, really struggling, and although we're years off an edition, I don't mind the odd points change if it need be. And it might just mean some inventory needs some points changes. Just drop points down a little bit. It might help. But first route I would go down would just be scenarios that you need infantry to score certain things.
Yeah.
Because people have to take them then. And then tinkering with percentages on your army selection is another thing you can do. Or like the Throne of Skulls did, really simple, but limit the total cost of your character, which includes the monster they're riding to 500 points or a percentage of your 25% of your total army cost. Is another way of doing it without changing the rules. It just cuts off some of the biggest things. Limiting the number of level 4s you can have per 1,000 points or per army is another good way of doing it as well. So you've not got spam of certain
Goblins.
things. It doesn't help infantry, but there are things you can do in that sense which doesn't change the core rules too much. But we are starting on another topic which was not advertised and not what we were talking about, and most people have gone now anyway. But it's interesting. I'd like to know what people's thoughts are on whether this is the beginning of major changes again, slowly. And I think you're right there when you talk about that kind of control. It's almost vanillaization, isn't it, of the game, and you do it with the creative side of things as well. It will be a shame. Hopefully, they will listen to the feedback, and next year it's just open again. I don't think it will be, but hey ho. Anyway, is there anything you'd like to say before we let these people go? Both of them that are watching, and one of them's a dog. And it's my dog.
My cat.
The only people watching it is me editing it. No one else is watching at this point.
No, just as usual. Thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for listening to us. Thanks for supporting us. And, catch you on the next one.
Absolutely. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm not going to say any more than that. Take care. I'll catch you soon.